myself for the first time in probably 3 years, and apparently I have gained close to 20 pounds. I was a little bit shocked. I was a little bit shocked. Time to start exercising. I already started doing my push up. I need to do more than that. Watch my diet and everything. But unfortunately, I wish I had good news to bring you guys. But unfortunately, you know, I watch these partisan left wing videos, and they like to go to like Trump rallies and show us how stupid the Trump supporters are, and you know I don't trust any of these guys. Right wing propaganda, left wing propaganda. I know not to trust them, right? So I expect the left wing propaganda channel to pick out the craziest people at a Trump rally to try to make them look as bad as possible for most entertainment value. I expect a right wing propagandist to go, you know, find the craziest Biden supporter and focus on that. So I'm always wondering how bad things are in terms of people who support Trump, and I'm sad to report in the real world. So this is me as a person who's not out there trying to manipulate people or whatever. I'm just interacting with real people in my life who happen to like Trump and seeing how they are. And I'm sad to say that I think that those videos of the left wing propagandists going to Trump rallies are pretty accurate based on my findings. I mean, I'm sure for entertainment values, they probably do try to a little bit, maybe somebody with a crazy hat on or something. I don't know. But generally speaking, the the thought process, the lack of critical thinking, the being very emotional, irrational, not able to reason with them, don't care about facts, don't know about the stuff that they're talking about, but yet really, really confident. This is really how a lot of Trump voters are. It's not, a Luke Beasley thing or a David Packman thing, as I suspected. I mean, I haven't actually been to the rally, so we'll see. But you know, I'm finding more and more people who are Trump supporters who are friends of mine or people that I know, and I've taken the opportunity to speak to them since the election. And every time I'm finding the exact same pattern. I mean, it's bad. It is really, really bad across the board. Every single one of them is super, super emotional, and you just cannot, they're just all over the place, and you cannot talk to them. You can't have like a reality based, fact based conversation. It's just they feel the way they feel, and facts be damned. Um, I mean, they will even contradict themselves. I remember I spoke to one of the first people I spoke to was one of my contractors who's Jamaican, and somehow it came out that he liked Trump, and so I was like, great, this is a great opportunity. And then I would say, in my view, I was at my best in terms of I was empathetic. I listened a lot and let him speak. I tried to see things from his perspective. I tried not to be like insulting or whatever. I wanted him to feel comfortable to be honest with me and to share his thoughts. I tried to, present facts in a way that's not like condescending or like I'm smarty pants. Like I try to really, really be a human, treat this guy like a brother. And it's just the core of what I got from the conversation is, again, what this thing that I found across the board with all the people I've spoken to. It is pure emotion. They feel the way they feel, and no amount of facts to the contrary is going to convince them otherwise. So it's kind of like, you know, you think Toyota is very unreliable. You claim you're never gonna buy a Toyota, and then I'm kind of like confused. Like, well, Toyota's very reliable. What are you talking about? And then I try to find out like why is it that you don't like Toyota, and then you start saying stuff like, "Do you know they recalled 1,000 of their trucks just last month? Do you know last year they did a recall on the Corollas?" And then I realized that the only thing you know about Toyota is everything negative. It's almost like the only source of information that you have is a source that doesn't like Toyota. So you know everything negative about Toyota, nothing positive. So then I try to enlighten you and say, do you know that their recalls is it's a fraction of what the other companies have. So they're actually more reliable in that regard. And then it's kind of like either just complete rejection, like, oh, that's not true, that's not true. But then if you try to question them, like, okay, what's the basis of you saying it's not true? Like, what's the source of information? Like, I'm telling you that they have less recalls than the competition. Can you show me something oh, that's nonsense. Ah, Toyota is junk. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, if you're gonna say something that's wrong and I'm gonna correct you on it, and then you're gonna just simply just disagree, it's just kind of like, feelings over facts. Like, I feel this way, fingers in my ear. Ah, I don't want to hear it, man. Ah, Toyota sucks. Ah, whatever, whatever. Ah. Like, I mean, and it's one clear example of like this irrational thought process that I got from that guy was in the beginning. I asked him about the debate with Harris, and I'm gonna check the comments in a second. I see Wavy there and Slowpoke. I said I'm gonna. What do you think about the debate between Trump and Harris? And he was like, "Oh, Trump definitely won." I'm just like, "Whoa, what is this guy talking about?" Even like, I mean, there was some major conservative voices that admitted that he didn't do very good, but this guy was like, no, no, Trump won. He destroyed her. So then I try to talk about a specific point. I say, what about the way that she was able to control him? She mentioned about his crowd size, and then he got on Hinge and he started talking about this killing the dog and whatever, and that just, you know, he was asked a question where his answer would be good for him because it was something regarding something that he polls very well with. So, it would have been a good move for him to answer the actual question because that was an opportunity for him to like, get his points across, things that he does well with, right? But instead of doing that, he chose to focus on his crowd size, which like no one's going to vote for him because of his crowd size. Like that to me was a very weak move, and that's a bad move. That's So I said to him doing that, what's going to happen when he's negotiating with world leaders, right? But he was adamant, like no, no, no. Trump won the debate, and he says Harris did not manipulate him by saying the crowd size. I'm like, wow, okay. Then later on in the conversation, somehow I get him to just throw out like, oh, yeah, Trump did get manipulated by her in the debate. And it's just not like him conceding. It's not like I brought it back up and I was able to convince him otherwise. It's just we were talking about something else. And then in that moment, all of a sudden he completely flops and he just says like, "Oh, I mean, this is the same guy that was adamant that Trump definitely won that debate. He was adamant that she didn't manipulate him. And now, 10 minutes later, he's now agreeing with me and saying, oh, Trump did, she did manipulate Trump. And it was just so bizarre. I didn't even, you know, the instinct was to like jump on him and be like, wait a minute, you said such and such earlier. But I just kept it to myself. I didn't even bother. Because I mean, after the long conversation, I realized that would have been a waste of time, right? No matter what I said, no matter what, contradiction I pointed out, or it's just he feels like Trump is a guy and Trump's gonna fix everything, and he just can't stand Kamala. She's this and she's that. Um, Let me take a look at the comments real quick, and then I'm going to tell you what about the other conversation I had with somebody else that's a Trump supporter that's in my family. Jesus Christ, something. Some people rather live in a comfortable like that then face harsh. Yeah, that's true. Hey Hester, how you doing? Jimmy Z, what's up? Someone suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% true. I mean, pretty much, I would say that everyone that I've spoken to in my personal life who likes Trump, you know, definitely was showing signs of Trump derangement syndrome because there was no logic or rational sort of way to explain their behavior and what they were saying. I mean, you know, I feel that these people were all better than that. They know better, but for some reason in this conversation, it's kind of like talking about religion. Like my father is way more intelligent talking about other topics. Excuse me, but talking about religion, it's like his IQ just drops big time. I love my father and all, but conversations about religion, he becomes very irrational. It's very emotional. I could point out something that he's wrong about, and he'll just simply just it's the finger in the ear thing, right? It's like doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't want to hear it. And then if you really corner them, all of a sudden they just get silent. They got nothing to say, but never conceding anything, right? So I spoke to another friend of mine. This is a friend from high school, so I've known him a very, very long time. I've known that he was sort of Trump friendly for some time now, but I had a chance to talk to him about Kamala and how he feels about Kamala. So this is a really good friend, right? So I definitely spoke to him respectfully, with empathy. I listened to him, and again, it's almost identical. Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, it's just he he has a lot of emotion, right? A lot of emotion. He feels this way, he feels that way, not fact based. Like he didn't have, just like the other person, the contractor did not know a lot of stuff, right? Did not know a lot of stuff about Trump. Was not very well informed about Trump at all. He just knows the vibe that Trump gives him, right? Trump talks about, I'm the best and I'm going to do this and under me, blah, blah. So all of the Trump talking points, that is the extent of what the contractor knew about Trump. So the only thing he knows about Trump is what Trump says about himself, right? So it's like a car dealer telling you, this is the best car ever. And that's all you know about the car, what the car dealer tells you. My best, you could call him a best friend. He, same thing. He he doesn't know anything about Kamala Harris other than the bullet points of people that don't like her. So literally every negative talking point about Kamala Harris, he's very familiar with. He doesn't know anything else beyond that. So he doesn't like her. He has a very, very strong, repulsive, like, ugh, about her. And I don't like her either, right? But my dislike is not certainly not as emotional as her, as him. But he has a very visceral, like, negative reaction to her. Yet he doesn't know anything about her. He doesn't know what her policies were, what the policies she ran on. He doesn't know her background in terms of her resume, what she's done, what she's accomplished. But every single negative talking point about her, that's all he knows. Just like the guy with the Toyota. I gave an example of the Toyota guy where, a guy says he hates Toyota, it's unreliable, and you're like, what are you talking about? And then everything that this person knows, it's all the negative stuff. That's all he knows. Doesn't know about all the positive stuff. So it makes sense. If everything has positives and negatives. If you only know the negatives of a thing, then obviously you're gonna hate that thing, right? I don't care how good Toyota is a great brand, but if you only know the negatives, you're not gonna like Toyota, right? He only knows stuff that you would get from watching like a Ben Shapiro channel, right? She's a DEI hire. She can't even speak. All she does is word salad. She doesn't have any policies. Um, she slept her way to the top. I mean, you name it, right? Um, in order for you to have a rational sort of analysis of, you know, Kamala Harris, how good or bad she is, you've got to know who she is. Who she is not just all the negative talking points, right? You've got to know these are the good things about her, the okay things about her, these are the bad things, these are the worst things. Like, this is the full picture. And when I look at all of this stuff, the net effect is negative, positive, whatever. Like, that's how I look at her, right? I know a lot of her positives, right? I know a lot of things that are good about her, her accomplishments, her capabilities, right? But I also know her flaws, right? Like the word salad thing. I'm not unaware of that. I know she does word salad and I know when and why she does it. But I also know that she's very, very capable of explaining her policies and getting in depth into, what she wanted to do, as long as it is outside of the things that she's uncomfortable with. Like, for example, Gaza. You ask her about Gaza, you're gonna get word salad. The contractor I spoke to, all he knows about is the word salad. So whatever he's listening to, every time they, find another thing to say, look what she did, right? He's watching that, right? So every day, yo, comma this, comma that, comma this, comma, and that's all he knows, literally. So he has no idea. It's like he doesn't know her, right? He doesn't know anything about her. My friend, same thing. He doesn't know anything about her except for the negative talking points. Um, and an interesting thing from that conversation was when I pointed out that some of the main things, like I'm trying to find like why don't you like her, and I was able to point out that the things that he was using to have this negative feeling about her were actually wrong. Like he was actually misinformed. And I presented to him, this fact. Because he's a good friend, he did concede. But the response was, it's all like her. This is why I say we're fucked, man. Um, it's not about explaining things to people. It's not about telling them the truth about things. It's not about, you know, someone just doesn't know the truth. So I'm just going to let them know the truth and then everything is well. They don't want to know the truth. They don't care about the truth. They don't care to understand. They don't care to know what's really going on or whatever. They have a strong feeling and they just want to stick to it, right? So there's no debating. There's no like, I'm going to be very clever with my argumentation. None of that stuff matters, right? Because as I've told you guys many times before, emotions block your ability to think clearly. That's what happens with my father, right? When I talk to him about religion, his access to the part of his brain that allows him to think critically is blocked. So he becomes very irrational. He says stuff that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's like I'm talking to somebody completely different because the subject matter is a lot of emotion attached to it. That's what I found with the contractor. Very emotional. My good friend, very emotional. And I think this is a critical detail because the contractor, that's not a good friend, right? So there's only so far I could go with him. But with my friend, I was able to go far to the point of having him concede that, okay, the things he thought about her were actually incorrect. He was misinformed about them. Like, we came to that conclusion. But again, the outcome was not, you know, kind of a let me revisit my thought. Like, I've done that, right? There was a time in my life where, I had ideas about certain things that happened in this country, certain events, a lot of them racially charged, and big stories on the news and whatever. And this racist cop did whatever, and I didn't really look into them, and I got caught up in certain rhetoric. And then at one point in time, I found out that one thing wasn't what I thought it was. I started looking into it more, and I was like, wow, okay, I didn't really get the full story. And then it happened a couple of times. Now, somebody like that, what happens is you end up going into right wing media because they'll be the ones pointing out some of this stuff, and then you become like a right winger. But the main difference between me and that person is I recognize that a lot of these sources are lying about certain things or not giving the full story, but then I don't then go let somebody else fool me, right? Just because they were in the mainstream narrative about certain things were incorrect. I'm not gonna go now listen to some buffoon like Ben Shapiro, right? Who's gonna tell me expose stuff that liberal media is not telling you while he's not telling me other stuff. No, what I did was I cleaned the slate and I said I no longer have an opinion about many of these events that happen in the country because I need to look into them myself, right? I said after a few of these things, and see, Anna Kasparian supposedly had like a similar journey, right? But again, she does the common thing. Now she's like, getting all friendly with the right wingers and whatever, and she's just being ridiculous. But that's not what happened to me. When I realized that stuff, I just started. Um, I dug into the things that I was thinking about, certain stories or events, and then basically, again, I came to the conclusion of like, okay, I don't actually have a position about, any of these things from the past because I need to look into them. So if somebody asked me about, what happened with Trayvon Martin or whatever, I would have to be like, let me get back to you, right? Um, but that's not what my friend's approach was. It's just kind of like, okay, I was wrong about these things, but whatever, I don't care. Like emotions, right? We're fucked. Um, so today I found out another person I know is a Trump supporter. So that's the next thing. A lot of Trump, and I'm in a blue area. I'm a super blue area, and my contractor, who's a Jamaican, two of them, three of them actually, they were all Trump guys, um, and here's an interesting thing. Everyone I'm talking about is very these are all pretty low income people. Um, One of them has been, I think, actually is currently on Section 8. Has used a lot of, and this is an interesting one. I before I go on to the other one, you got to understand this person who hates the Democrats, hates Harris. This is a person who the Democratic Party has been a big help for him. Democratic Party policies has kept him alive, kept him fed, kept him in, housed, right? Because he's used a lot of these programs, right? Whether it's rental assistance programs and food stamps, things like that. And then Joe Biden, specifically Joe Biden. This is what very important that you guys get this. Joe Biden significantly improved his life in a major, major way. And he gets no thanks or credit for it. He so has this, I mean, there's Trump derangement syndrome, but there's also Joe Biden derangement syndrome. And he definitely has Joe Biden derangement syndrome, where even Joe Biden helping him out massively. I'm talking about someone who has struggled most of their lives and has been dealing with college debt, which is a big thing that's been holding him back. So he's always had debt, always been so constrained financially. And thanks to Joe Biden, he finally became debt free after a long struggle. We're talking about since 2003 or something like that, at least. He's been struggling. And he's been, one of the things been holding back is this college loan debt. He got all of his college loan debt forgiven. And he appreciates it and he's thankful that it was forgiven, but he has so much hate for Joe Biden that he refuses to give him any credit for that. right? So it's weird. On one hand, he's like, yeah, this is really great, but F Joe Biden. I mean, when you get to the point where you can massively, upgrade a person's life to go from crippling debt to, let me tell you how far things got. So this is a guy who was scraped by for a long time, um, and has never been able to save any money. I think at one point in time, thanks to Joe Biden, he was able to have something like 12, I think it might even be $20,000 cash in his bank account. So under Joe Biden's economy, he almost doubled his income. He got rid of college loan debt, so he became debt free, and he was able to save a ton of money. And the Democrats get zero credit for any of this. He can't stand the Democrats, and hey, I don't like Democrats either. But um, unlike him, I don't have a view that the Democrats don't do anything and they're just worthless and they're destroying the country and things have been so horrible under Joe Biden. Like he buys into all of that rhetoric, in spite of the fact that he has benefited massively from the administration. So if you can rise someone up to some degree out of poverty, out of debt, and not get any credit for it, definitely not getting any votes. You're not even getting a kind word. So imagine if he wouldn't vote for Joe Biden, but you know, he at least wouldn't like talk negatively about him, or he gets nothing, man. He just, yeah, Biden, Biden, insane, insane. And this is why it's more they want to talk about rhetoric. You know, you could sit there and talk about all kinds of good policies or whatever. That's not it, man. You're not gonna be able to connect with, my friend and these contractors. You know, I don't care what your policies are, man. You could come up with policies that address every single thing that these people struggle with, and they do not care. You can even implement these policies, and still they do not care, right? So somebody's concerned about crime. Kamala could have gotten elected, and she could have dropped crime to 0% in the person's neighborhood thanks to her policies, and that person would still be like, F Kamala, she's garbage and she's ruined the country. It's just like reality does not matter. It's all about feelings. I feel that these people are horrible and they're ruining the country. So, in spite of this fact that their policies have risen me out of debt, and now I have money saved, my income has risen under them. There used to be crime and now the crime is gone. Doesn't matter. Results, not even results matter. Um, I think I don't know, man. I'll leave that alone. I'll just go to the final person. So I have another friend that's maybe 15 years, 20 years. We've known each other. And again, a low income person. And they're currently right now struggling big time due to some things that have happened in their life recently. Um, and just found out today she's pro Trump, another pro Trump person. And you see the pattern. Low income people. I mean, this is exactly what we saw in the data, right? But here it is in my real life. Low income people, um, all Trump. And then I have another friend that's a pro Trump who's not low income. He actually has good money, but he falls into the other camp. He's on the someone who is you know higher higher income people will be pro Trump because they genuinely benefit from Trump economics, right? Deregulation and tax cuts for the rich, right? They actually benefit. So they're voting. So like my friend, I mean he's ignorant about a lot of stuff, but he he would vote for Trump and actually get somewhat what he's expecting. It's the low income people, like my friend and the contractor and my other friend, who are not getting anything, but still they vote for him, right? They'll vote for him, and then not he won now. He'll go and say a bunch of things about how the economy is great, and they're gonna fall for it. They're gonna feel like the economy was booming. We got well. I guess the wealthy people feel like they're gonna get something, and they will actually get something. The people that are poor feel like they're gonna get something, and then they're gonna feel like they did get something. So you know, um, does it really matter that they didn't actually get what they felt they got if they feel like they got it? I mean, I don't know. I would think that you'd actually want healthcare, stuff rather than concepts of a plan like Trump is offering. But here's the reality: if Kamala won, she had a bunch of healthcare stuff that she was talking about. If she won and she implemented these things, it'd be just like my friend, right? No credit. They would right wing media would be like things are horrible and this and Kamala's this and whatever, whatever. So if she had won and did some great things for healthcare, they would not feel good about it. They would just feel like, she's horrible and the country's falling apart and this and that. Um, I don't know, man. But anyway, I spoke to this friend. This is a friend I spoke to today, and it was the same pattern. Very irrational, very emotional. Facts don't matter. Like she would say something that was incorrect, and I would correct her and say, "Oh, no, that's not actually true." And then she would just say, "No, no, you're wrong," blah, 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 like no basis. And that's the thing, she never had any facts, right? She never had any facts. Everything she said, it was just she feels. She feels that Trump was good with the economy the last time around. She feels that this and she feels that that. Um and then when I try to ask her for like, how do you know this? Where are you getting that from? Silence. Every single time. There was never a time where she had a position where I was like, no, that's actually incorrect. And then she was able to defend her position. She never had anything. No, 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 no. Not even because you can defend positions and still be wrong. Like she could maybe read some bogus report, like maybe there's a bogus report that was actually funded by some partisan organization that's connected to the Republican Party. There's stuff out there, but she didn't have that. She doesn't even have a bad report or something to show me. She just feels that Trump is great and he's going to fix everything and the economy is going to be great, and ironically she is an immigrant. I think she's a citizen now, but she's for the deportations. She's like, yeah, they need to get them out of the country and all this kind of stuff, and we're fucked, man. So the positive note is, let me check a look. You scared Dark Prescott? I don't know what that means. Someone suffering from the. How did Biden improve his life? Ian, I think I explained that, so hopefully you heard what I said. Um, but um, the positive note is that there is a way, there is a way around this. There is a solution, um, and the solution is, unfortunately, the saying goes, you got to fight fire with fire. I know a lot of these left wing propaganda channels are talking about, we need more left wing propaganda. I'm not for propaganda. I'm still trying to assess my thoughts on that because we've come to a point where if you're fighting a battle where your opponent is not playing by the rules, I mean, are you going to sit there and be principled and die, or are you gonna do what it takes to win? So I don't know. That's a discussion for another video. But at this moment, I'm still not for like, hey, we need more propaganda to fight with their propaganda. Instead, what I think the solution is, again, fire with fire, and that fire is not propaganda. That fire is emotion, right? All the what I've learned from all the people in my life that are Trump people, they're highly charged with emotion, right? And logic and facts do not matter. So, to me, the solution is you would need to hit them with so much emotional energy that it supersedes what they got going right now. So what I mean by that is, um, we need someone. Uh, I think at this in this day and age, with the way things are, I think we would need two people. We need a leader who is not a politician, who's not getting into politics, a leader who will fight with the people on the outside, and we need someone who, who we can elect into office to be able to do what because on the outside you're just pressuring the people on the inside, but the people on the inside, they're the ones actually doing stuff. So it'd be good to have someone we can elect to be on the inside, but also we need a strong outside leader. But the key thing is these people need to be very skilled at tapping into the emotions of the American people, because facts and logic is not going to cut it. Graphs and statistics is not going to cut it, right? That will work for the college degree, whatever type people. Um, you know, they can respond to that. They can look at it and say, okay, so why should we vote for you? And you can say, well, look at the GDP, this and that, and they can understand. And it's not even a matter they can't, because it's not that the other people can't understand. Again, if you're letting emotions cloud your judgment, then your abilities are limited, right? So I'm not going to say that these college educated, and I'm not college educated, by the way, these college educated are the ones who are capable of understanding the data. No, they're not only able to understand the data, but they are what's the word I'm looking for? They have the capacity, and they're able to use that capacity, because some of the people that are emotionally charged also have the capacity to understand the data, but their frame of mind is clouded by emotion, so they're unable to tap into that. So what that means is you need to get their attention. There's a ton of people in this country that you need to get their attention with emotions. So we need someone who can really really tap into the frustrations of the American people, about people, people are struggling to survive, struggling to pay their groceries, struggling to pay their rent, struggling to pay their mortgage. They are this friend actually, who's a Trump whatever, not getting into their business, but they are currently experiencing the outcome of having a president like Donald Trump who has concepts of a plan. Because right now, due to their work situation, their income situation, they are in a little bit of a medical crisis right now, right? Kamala had some plans that could have helped this person, even though, just like my other friend, if Kamala had won and those policies helped her, she probably still would have been like, Kamala sucks and the country is falling apart. Again, it's not about the reality, it's about feelings. But regardless, someone needs to be skilled enough to tap into that frustration that a lot of Americans have, that feeling of being left behind. you know um you know you should be able to work a regular job and afford a house. That should not be something for, someone with, big salary or whatever it is. You have to be a doctor or whatever. A regular American should be able to afford a home just working a regular job. You work in retail, you're just a salesman, that should be enough. If you are, some level of decent with your money, you're not just like wasting your money, whatever, that should be enough to buy a home. People who are frustrated that that's not the reality, someone needs to be able to tap into that, right? And they need to be someone who is genuine, that people can trust. People can feel like you're not just pandering to us, you understand our pain, and you actually are serious about doing something to improve it. And you got to get them riled up, man. The same way they're riled up right now with nonsense, you got to get them riled up, like, forget about this culture war stuff, right? That's people are making so much money with. Let's get riled up about healthcare. Let's get riled up about incomes. Let's get riled up about the top 1% just gobbling up resources and leaving the rest of us to drown. Like, let's get riled up about that, right? And from that energy, you know, and of course the important thing is that this person needs to be a genuine person, because just like how you have Trump being a very bad and dishonest person, he's using the same tactics that I'm describing right now, although he's doing it in a dishonest way. I'm talking about doing it in an honest way, but regardless, he's using the same tactic of tapping into emotions. So I don't want someone to do the same thing on the other side where they're actually scamming. And it needs to be someone who's genuine, because the reality is, just like how people are being led off a cliff by Trump, they're caught up in these emotions and they really feel like he's going to do this and whatever, whatever, right? We're talking about essentially in some way manipulating people, right? Because we're not trying to rationalize with them and like, here's the facts and this and that. We're trying to get them, you know, just charged up with frustration and like, we're gonna fight. Da, da, da. So they are just as potentially irrational as they are now, but in this case, the movement that they're behind is a movement that's actually heading in a positive direction in a way that can actually benefit them in reality. And that's just the reality of it. Like, you're always gonna have a bunch of people that don't know much about what they're even involved. Just like how a lot of Trump supporters don't get it. They don't understand like what's really going on. They don't understand the game being played. If a good, honest person comes along, who's able to tap into the emotions, a lot of people are going to support that person without even fully understanding, what their policies are and what they're really trying to do, and what the problems are. All they're going to do is they're going to have a feeling of like, this person seems like, really they're going to do something. And I'm going to vote for that person because they really got me a good feeling. The other team, I don't know. I like this team better than that team. So I think that's just a reality that we have to accept. There's a certain portion of the population that you can rationalize with and give them facts and details, but you can't win elections with just those people. You got a ton of people that need to feel, a level of fire, that like, this is a movement and we're gonna do change. Da, 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 da. But again, it's a double-edged sword, because just like how someone can do that for good, they can do it for bad as well. So you can have someone who, let's say, Ramaswamy runs for president in 2028 and wants to do some craziness. You could have a left-wing person who wants to do another version of craziness that, is better at the emotional game. So I don't know, man. But at least there's a path to us getting out of the situation and getting the country back on track. But unfortunately, we don't have such a person. I don't see any strong leaders, any good leaders on the left right now. Um, and it's not about left or right. I don't really care about left or right. It's just that's the only place to look right now, because the right, as far as the Republican Party, has become a cult. It's a troll party. It's a cult. So I don't. What's the pathway? I mean, if it was a normal political party like it used to be, that has corruption, has problem, but it's a normal party, then I could see, the Democrats are screwing around, whatever. There's this Republican guy who is serious and he's actually getting stuff done, and I would vote for him, right? A normal Republican Party, and you had an actual Republican that, a governor somewhere, and they're not dealing with culture war stuff. They're actually getting stuff done. healthcare stuff in their state. You know, they did some healthcare stuff. They did some income stuff. You know, to actually getting stuff done. I would be like, fuck the Democrats, right? I'm not a Republican, but I'm gonna vote for this guy because this guy is doing. But right now, there's no options. The entire party's being taken over by a cult. So it's kind of like, okay, whatever, you know, fuck left wing, right wing, whatever. But I mean, the right wing is just off the reservation right now. So to me, the only solution is some movement from the left, you know, third party option, or just somebody who's going to run as a Democrat, but actually do some real, fighting. But again, right now that person doesn't exist. I don't see the outside leader, and I don't see the person who could run and win, who's really got what it takes. So that's the bad news. But you know, we never know. This is a moment in time. A lot of stuff's being shaken up, so maybe somebody will rise from the ashes and make it happen. But I think that's the path. We need someone who is, you know, very effective with tapping into the emotions of the voters, just like Trump is. The only difference is have that person be a genuine person who's trying to actually help. Anyway, this is Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And as I'm watching this video, um, as I'm doing this video, I'm looking at this is just YouTube auto select a top left wing propagandist interviewing a Democrat, Mr. Brian Tyler Cohen, doing an interview with I think it's Hakeem Jeffries. Anyway, all right, guys, let me get back to work. Trump derangement syndrome.